Hi guys, Mark from Mind Frontiers. I'm going to talk to you again about emotions and food, but this time with a different aspect. This time I'm going to talk about how we're programmed, and it sets up our belief system. Because they're all interrelated, they're all interlinked. So what do I mean by this? Well, as we are growing up, from little, we're taught. We are babies. We need food. We are given food. We cannot really communicate that well. We can cry and we can do various things that babies and young children do, but they can't really verbally communicate except very well. So you are given that food. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't like it. Sometimes it's thrown on the floor. And toddlers and babies and stuff do that when things aren't going their way, or for whatever reason, whatever their thought processes is. But it goes deeper than that. Society, as we grow up, we are dominated by media pictures, advertising, everything like that, which shows people how they should look. And when we have people that are different of those so-called looks, people can be picked on and can be judged for not being who they are. This leads into programming. We are then programmed by society, by the media, by society, by our peers, into acting and behaving in a different way. And sometimes this is a good thing. We can look at people and go, they're really good, they've inspired me, I want to make a difference. But sometimes, and a lot of the time, it's portrayed as negativity. So the big thing at the minute is there's an obesity crisis. But then we have to look at ourselves and go, actually, this is advertising. We go to the supermarket. Where do they place all the snacks and the treats? Near the tills. You go into the supermarket, for example, and there's the smell of freshly baking bread. Suddenly we're actually hungry, and then we buy more than what we actually need, and then suddenly we're like, I feel really, really guilty, so I'll binge eat. Or I'm really stressed now because I've just spent too much money and I can't take it back, because if I take it back then what will they say? Yeah. When you take stuff back, it's normally for something that's defective or something that's broken, not for something, well, I didn't really mean to buy that. So we then have a difficulty of taking it back, and then, well, I've got it in the cupboard now, so I better eat it. We are programmed by society with everything that they do and say. It programs us. Whether it's just emotions or food or anything like that, we are programmed all the time by society, by our peers, by our parents, by our guardians, by our friends, by people who aren't our friends. We are programmed as a whole in those early form years. But what are we forming? What are we programming our children? What do we program ourselves? Children should be seen, not heard. You better eat all your dinner, or you'll know what for. Can't afford to waste my food. Now, I've said that myself in the past. I haven't got enough money. You better eat it. You'll like it or lump it, or you'll go to bed without any supper, without any tea. Well, these are the sort of things that we're saying, so we are programming our children. And when it comes to programming our children with food, we are saying, well, you better eat this, and if you don't eat it, then there's consequences. And if they don't like the food, you are programming them a negative emotion to that food, and then they become resistant. Now, I also work with people with on the spectrum and with learning disabilities. A lot of them are picky eaters because they don't like food touching and textures touching, and if they touch, excuse me, I have an itchy eye and I can't see, that's better. So they are programmed, they do that in themselves, they don't like the food touching, and if they do touch, they get very upset. And that also relates to how we program each other. Because if you know that their food doesn't like to be touched, keep it separate. If they're only eating a certain food at a time because that's all they like, then stressing about it and giving them emotional disease by forcing them to eat other things is not a good way to do about it. You can bring in different foods in slowly so that they learn to do it in their own time. We've got to start looking at what we're programming. We're going into the supermarket and we're hungry because we haven't had lunch, and then we see all the snacks and we get more tempted. There's more, oh yeah, that looks good. Yeah, there's more temptation. Whereas actually, if you've just eaten something, you're less likely to go and buy the stuff that you don't need. And that all relates to our emotions and our feelings. Because if you're full and you feel content, you're just going to go get what's on your list, if you make a list. But if you're like, well, I've rushed to the supermarket because I haven't got much in, you're going to be more tempted to overspend. And then that leads to emotional problems because I feel guilty, I feel stressed, I feel anxious. How am I going to pay the bills? Oh, well, I'll have this chocolate bar that's here. I'll have this packet of crisps that's here. That'll make me feel better. But that's only a temporary fix. That's just like sticking a plaster over an injury. It only lasts for a little short time. And eventually, you put the plaster on, and a lot of people, they'll have a plaster on, they've gone to give blood, and then within half an hour, the plaster's off. Because it's just a temporary fix. So we're not looking at addressing the cause. All we're doing is plastering over it. It'll be alright, it'll be fine. Because we're programmed. And when we realise that we're programmed, we can actually do things about it. So what can we do about it? Let's look at the program. Okay, so you better eat all your dinner. Stop talking with your mouth full. Did you know that actually more calories are consumed when we're talking and eating? However, that's not being mindful. So when we're mindful eating, we actually use more calories. So there is an essence to say, about stop talking. But if we actually talk and put our plate and cutlery down, and then we have our discussion, then we can pick up and do it that way. And then what we're doing is actually eating slower and actually being more mindful of what we eat. Because if we've got something, all our food, all here, and we're just we're not going to feel full. Because our body hasn't had time to process the food that's going in and feel the signals to go to the brain. What we need to do is go, okay, I'm having a conversation. So I'm sitting there. So when somebody's talking, listen, and then put it down, finish what's in the mouth, and then talk. Because then you're engaging in the conversation and you're not eating. So mindfulness eating is about being 100% focused on every single morsel of food. So everything that you eat, so what it tastes like, what it smells like, what the texture's like, 100% focus. So if you're having that conversation, you are no longer 100% focused. So you put it down and then have the conversation. And then you can eat again. But you've got to be totally focused on that food. Otherwise, it won't work. And if you're totally focused on what you're eating, and when you're eating it, and what patterns you use, you'll actually notice you'll get fuller quicker. Which means that if you wanted to lose weight, for example, rather than bang on about the programs you see in the magazines, you see on with all these pretty pictures of men and women looking absolutely stunning, you're actually focusing on yourself and going, actually, well, this is what I want, so how do I get that? And you're working on building a new program rather than the program of the advertisers and the social media, because we are what we eat. And we, as human beings, like to be liked. And if we look at people that are skinny or muscular, and we're not, and we have that perception that they are, then actually we're going the wrong way about it, because we're not focusing on ourselves. You see, everybody's different. The media and the advertising are portraying our programs that this is what we should believe. So we should believe that we should look like this. We should believe we should have this sort of body. We should believe that we should do this amount of exercise to lose weight, or to, instead of actually being aware of our own appearance, being happy with our appearance, learning to love ourselves. And if there's things that actually, well, I might need to lose a bit of weight, well, what can I do about it? Rather than focusing on the programs. What you're then doing is bringing the attention back to you, the reason why you want to lose the weight, or you want to sort your emotions out. Not based on what you see, hear and feel from the external environment, because it's all initiated from within. So let's look at your programs, guys. Now, if you want to start looking at your programs and you're unsure where to go, give us a buzz. This is what I'm here for. Let's work on these, because we need to stop being programmed by society. We need to go, okay, that isn't in my control. I can't look like this celebrity. Why? Well, I'm a different physique, or I'm a different height. I've got a different style of body. That's them, not you. And when you start learning these sort of things, you're not going to feel like you have to do this so that you can be judged from other people. You can learn to accept yourself, and people will gravitate towards you because they're accepting of you. So this is what I call like for like. So people that are depressed often go to people that are depressed for help and advice. Whereas if you're in a happy place and you're comfortable with yourself, people will come to you and go, oh, I'm in a happy place, I'm comfortable with myself. And you'll have different interactions and different discussions. I in the past was depressed. I was programmed by society. I had a little podge when I was going through puberty, and was very badly bullied and called fat and podgy and all manner of names, and at that time I took it really personally. But as I got at home, I still ate what I was given. And, I didn't have a big plate of food. But after I left home, I was in a relationship and I was happy. But when the relationship broke down, which sometimes happens, all those past things that used to come from the bullying and all the things that have ever been said to me and how I was programmed all came back. And I ballooned in weight because I felt guilty, I was depressed, I was anxious, I had health issues, all because of the programming that I had, and I correlated it to food. Now, when I sorted myself out, I realised that actually I was heading for an early grave. And before I was heading for an early grave, before I sorted myself out, I was like, yeah, that's okay, doesn't matter. But when I sorted myself out, it's like, well, no, actually it does matter. I had to address each and every program. And I still do. There's still occasionally the way I was like, oh, where's that come from? So I deal with it in the now, in the moment. Look at the program before the program starts taking over, and then I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And then I'm like, we've got to start looking back and going, okay, let's look at our programs. How does these programs affect what we eat, how we eat, and when we eat? Because when we work out all that, we can change. And we're not stuck to our original programs, we become more adaptable. And when we become more adaptable, more flexible, we've got greater power and greater control. So look at these guys. Ask yourself, what's the benefit of a supermarket saying advertising chocolate with the smell of baking bread? Or what programs am I under? What programs are running me? I'm driving a car, and then I look back. How did I get here? I've not realised I've missed half the journey because I've been not in the moment. I've been elsewhere. And when we are elsewhere, this is when the programs hit, because we're not in control. So we got to start learning to be self-aware so that we can be more in control. I hope this really does make sense, guys, because it's vital that we start looking at our programs, how we are programmed by society, by our what we see, what we hear, what we feel. It's not necessarily true. We might see a picture in a magazine and we think, oh wow, that person looks absolutely stunning. But what have they done to achieve that? Have they been exercising 12 hours a day? We don't know how they've actually done that. Some people go and pay to have it done. We don't know, and we're not in their situation. We can only experience our experiences from our own point of view, not from other people's point of view. And when we start looking at it from other people's point of view, rather than our own, it's like, well, you're living your life to be another person, not living your life to be you. You're living your life to be a celebrity that you see in a magazine or on the TV. Not actually going, I need to be me. Because that's who we all are. We are all individuals. And we need to step back from the programming so that the programming isn't running us. And we can run the program. If we're in charge of the TV, we can change the channel. But if the TV's in charge, we're like, I'm bored, there's nothing on TV. I know, I'll just have some chocolate, I'll have some crisps. And boredom is a refusal to entertain yourself. Some people don't know how to entertain themselves. But we can learn to use a different TV channel, guys. New TV channel, new experiences. New experiences, new results. New results, especially when they work and they're effective, better feeling. When they don't work and they're not effective, then it's a learning experience. So you can learn to do things differently again and change the channel. So guys, that's my little talk on how we are programmed by society, by our parents, by our guardians, by our loved ones, by our family, by our friends, by our people who aren't our friends, as we are growing up, and how that impacts on our lives. We are all programmed. It's just we are unaware that these programs are running us at this minute in time. Our habit programs say, yeah, this is what we need to do. And then when our emotional brain takes over, because it's a program that we've been running, it takes over and we correlate it to food. And that's never a good thing. So let's take a step back. Look at things like meditation, anxiety, mindfulness eating. It really does work. It changes how we perceive things. Challenge those irrational programs so that those irrational programs become rational programs, so you've got a new strategy. So guys, thank you very much. You guys are super awesome. Do hope you like it. Please hit the subscribe and notify button and like and share. Let's get this message out to as many people as possible. And if you want other videos, just drop me a comment, or you can comment on my Twitter handle at 123Glenton, on my Facebook page, Mind Frontiers, or even my Instagram, Glenton Mark. I'm here. Let's get this message out. Thank you very much, guys. Do take care.